Yeah, we'll get it right. That's what a lot of head coaches are saying right now. We will get it right. It may take a while, but we'll get it right. Also, coming to mind, a quote from one of my all-time favorites, the all-time favorite. Yeah, may take a little while, but we'll get it right. All right, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. This is a brand new day, a brand new week, a Monday, and depending on your location right now, wow, it's coming down. Cats and dogs. I've heard where that comes from. I don't recall. Cats and dogs coming down outside here. Hopefully your weather is a little bit more cooperative, a little better, a little nicer, a little sunnier. But we do appreciate you being here. The college football doesn't stop regardless of the weather, unless there's a lightning delay. And the college football discussion doesn't stop unless there's a power outage or a internet interruption. So we will fight through the adversity. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Comments and questions are welcome, of course. This is the show where you get my rants, you get your comments and questions, you get your calls. The call-in lines on X. I will leave it in the chat as well. And then, of course, the finest guests in college football who make their way through here on a regular basis. And we've got a call coming in right now. And let's take this one because, man, I can't wait to talk about this game. I can never wait to talk to this guy any day of the year, but especially at this point, if I can actually get him on the line. StreamYard's giving me all sorts of grief. There we go. We got Ty Hudson here from Tusk Talk with Ty, who looks like he just rolled out of bed. But I'll take you any way I can get you.
I just got back from dropping the kids off.
Okay.
I've been up for a little bit. Haven't slept so great the last couple of nights, Mark.
Well, that's not good. Got to get your sleep.
Yeah. Not a good weekend, man. Rams lost in Detroit last night. Good game, though. All things considered, with all the injuries. Good game. Got to see some former Razorbacks play, which is always great. A lot of former Hogs in that one last night.
Who's playing in that game?
You had Bo Limmer got an opportunity for the Rams on the offensive line because they had at one point just two starting offensive linemen available in that game. You had Cam Curl, Frank Ragnow, Dan Skipper for the Lions. The kicker, whose name always slips my mind for Detroit, Bates. And he looked good. So a lot of former Hogs. That had to be the most former Hogs playing all at the same time in a single game. I don't remember the last time, honestly. So that's, Arkansas's not exactly been an NFL factory the last decade. So it was really cool to see. It was good to see them, to play and also look pretty good doing it. Ragnow, oh my gosh, in overtime was leading the way. I highly recommend folks go watch how that game ended. That was a fun game.
I'm going to have to go watch how that game ended because my experience was, even though I have checked out on the NFL largely, and I used to be number one NFL fan in the country, but that was a long time ago, I did want to check in on this game. I've got YouTube TV. So if anybody's watching from YouTube TV, this is an annoyance. I've had this for about 2 weeks, and I'm trying to select the Lions-Rams game through the local affiliate, and it keeps knocking me off, asking me to verify where I live, my location. And it says, do it down below. And I'm looking and I see nothing where I can do anything about it. And then I'm trying to go back and then it kicks me off. It was annoying. I never watched it. I didn't see one play.
Do you have a VPN connected to your?
Yes.
That might have something to do with it.
VPN connected.
If your VPN's connected, it's got you in a different part of the country. Maybe that has something to do with it. I know, like on my phone, I have NordVPN on my phone. Anytime I try to put an order in on Sonic or McDonald's on the app, it's like, what are you doing? We can't do this. So I have to like deactivate my VPN. God bless VPNs, by the way. They're just kind of an annoyance when it comes to stuff like that. I don't know if that's affecting your YouTube TV or not, but I would definitely start there.
Yeah, it hasn't affected anything else that has asked for my location.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like Twitter will still recommend to me, even with my VPN active, will still recommend to me like local stuff. You know, my YouTube TV has not been affected. I've got VPN on my computer, and I don't have to do that. But I don't know. I'd probably start there.
Yeah, didn't cross my mind. I was just annoyed by the whole process. So
yeah,
and it wasn't that important to me. But I was going to check in on the game and probably just have it on the entire game. But no. So you're telling me it was a good game, which they usually try to set those up on Sunday night. So
I get checking out on the NFL. I get it. More and more people, especially down here. When you're in Arkansas, like nobody really. You're either a Cowboy fan, you're a Chiefs fan, and the further east you go, you're a Memphis fan, or down in South Arkansas, you're a Saints fan. But like, it's really just the Razorbacks or the Cardinals, the St. Louis Cardinals. Like that's really it. And well, and there's a lot of Cowboys fans, but still, like, it doesn't feel like it used to. It was like felt like everyone, all the kids I knew at school, they're all Cowboys fans. Everyone. I'm like, I'm the only at the time when they were in St. Louis, I'm the only St. Louis Rams fan. I had to endure the mid '90s Rams, and Mark, it was so painful. Thank God for Mike Martz and that whole the greatest show on turf.
You went straight to Mike Martz and past Dick Vermeil.
Yeah, well, true. But he was the mine though, right? I mean, that was the West or the greatest show on turf was Mike Martz. But yeah, Vermeil, absolutely one of my favorite. Honestly, one of my favorite coaches of any coach, not just because he won a Super Bowl with the Rams, but you always knew like the guy was so emotionally connected and involved with his organization, and I always respect that. It's not just another paycheck.
Then they turned it over to Mark Bulger, and they were still good for a few years, and then it just kept going downhill from there. For
the post Marshall Faulk, you had Steven Jackson, still had Bruce and Holt, guys like that, but they just it just all kind of, I don't know. I always said it was after London Fletcher left that I never felt like the defense was ever really the same. Yeah, those were really fun times. Not that they haven't been, I mean, Sean McVay. They just won a Super Bowl not that long ago. They're hoping to get back. But anyways, I know that's not why you brought me here.
Folks, we've turned this into an NFL circa 2000 show, and I'm okay with that. Actually, if you looked at my list of channels that we've started here at the Voice of College Football, 5-6 years ago, we started a pro football history channel because I had a buddy of mine that wanted to record a NFL history segment every week. And he knew I could just show up and talk about anything. So I said, absolutely. That would be the most fun segment I would have to record all week. But we did it maybe 5 or 10 times, and then he kind of wandered off and we never kept it going. But
it happens.
I love it. Love the old NFL stuff.
Yeah.
All right. This game on Saturday, I watched the entire game. I was invested in this game, and it was an entertaining game. And I'm going to take us to one play, and then I'm going to let you spout off on what went wrong, because this Arkansas team, this Arkansas offense, racked up almost 700 yards of total offense. They were clicking. There were running lanes for our guy, Jaquindon Jackson, and Taylon Green knew when to take off, but he was also throwing darts. He tends to sail the throws, though, but I was impressed with his receivers. Not just one of them. It seemed like everybody was able to elevate and pull out some tough catches that sailed on Taylon Green. But, there was a play in this game. Arkansas is up 14-0. Taylon Green gets flush from the pocket. He reverses field. He's dodging defensive linemen, and he sprints all the way to the left sideline. And your number 5 receiver, I can't think of his name, holds up his hand. Broden. Taylon Green throws a dart. Beautiful throw, running the other direction. This dude impressed me. So I think there's a future there. So I had my doubts about Taylon Green. But anyway, when you, especially it looks bad when you're calling for the ball and then it was a perfect dart to him. It would have been 21-0. And I think it's not necessarily game, set, and match, but boy, that's a huge. And then one play later, 2 plays later, pick 6 the other way, and all of a sudden it's 14-7.
Yeah. Yeah. And I typically rewatch the games. I start on Sunday, and then what I don't finish, I wrap up sometime Monday. And if I should, because I got my Monday after show, which will be later today. Yeah, that play was, I don't know, Mark. It was, there's something about that drop pass. It was on the money. It was on the money. What an athletic throw. What awareness there that he had, and I was pretty critical of him in the post game. I said, when the pocket collapses, he does have a tendency to kind of panic a little bit. And, but on that play, it just felt like he was completely in control. He rolls out to his left, and and by the way, he did something similar in the final, I think it was the final scrimmage back in spring, where he hit Centennia down the left side, down the sidelines. Beautiful throw. And it was almost identical. Just the receivers, I think, ran different routes there, but just from Taylor Green's perspective, very similar. He is capable. And I remember watching that play going, oh my, okay, there might be something here with this guy. And then he kind of follows that up a little bit and throughout spring and fall camp. Well, that was obviously the last time we got to see him in spring after that scrimmage. But then in the fall, he looked mostly spot on. And not that you saw a lot of that necessarily, but he always looked like he was just on the same page with the rest of the offense, with Bobby Petrino. And you just knew the athleticism was there, and that play was fantastic. Had Broden caught the ball. Now I'm at that point now this morning where my memory's fuzzy on some of the game, but that felt like you could, no matter what you want to say about the second half and how Arkansas completely crapped their britches in the second half, you go back to that play, and it's like, what changes if Broden comes down with that? Now, on Broden's part, Mark, I don't know that I saw him drop maybe but one ball through fall camp. And he looked fantastic. In fact, I had Mason Choate. He and I would talk at practice, and I had him on, not much at practice, but I had him on not long ago before the season started, and I talked about Broden. And, we both kind of, I think there was an agreement by most media that were there. Broden could have a special year. I mean, he just looked good. Him and Green, again, same page. They looked to be in sync along with Armstrong, even though he was dealing with some hamstring issues throughout fall camp. He missed a whole week, and then came back, looked fine. Centennia looked fine. Tesla had a couple really nice grabs in camp. But to see that happen, that's why we always say, if what we see in camp translates onto the field, such and such will happen, right? Well, it didn't translate onto the field for Broden for that moment. And I think I could be wrong about this, I think that's his second drop on the year. I'm not sure on the amount of targets, but that just can't happen. You can't drop that. You have to catch that. We're probably sitting here talking about a different outcome. I do think, and listen, Oklahoma State fans, I had friends that went to that game. They were like, these are the nicest people I've ever dealt with. And I'm talking about friends of mine who have traveled. They'll tell you that their own Hog fans down in Little Rock are toxic. Fayetteville, man, I sat next to these obnoxious Hog fans. Man, I went to Tennessee. Man, I went here or there. I mean, these guys travel. They go to a lot of games. And they were like, these are the nicest people. Most of the comments, nice people. I had a Oklahoma State fan super chatting me. You can go back and watch it. He gave me like $10. Now, we were kind of having fun back and forth, and I was definitely, making some jokes at Oklahoma State's expense. But for the most part, in some of the comments they've left behind on that postgame chat, they're very kind. However, and I don't want to offend anybody, Okay. But Arkansas, this was more about Arkansas losing this game than it was Oklahoma State winning. You go, and it's not to say that Oklahoma State didn't make great second half adjustments. They did. They played far better in the second half than they did in the first half. But Arkansas did everything they needed to do. They clamped down on Ollie Gordon. They were shutting Oklahoma State out. In fact, their first points on the board was the pick six that you mentioned. It just nothing really went their way in the second half until the bottom of the fourth quarter. I don't know if you saw that when the officials completely bungled.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Like Arkansas has handed something there and they still couldn't, they just couldn't pull their heads out of their rears. Very, I don't know. I want to say it's mismanagement. I don't know if Sam, he says he lets his coordinators do what they're supposed to do. Man, it felt like something we've seen the last 2 years where they just, I don't know. Like they don't know how to play with a lead. They don't know how to do it, which is strange because in 2021, they certainly knew how to play with a lead. Since then, it's been a bit challenging. And you can go back to 22 when they had the wins over Cincinnati, South Carolina, and then when Bobby Petrino came in with Missouri State, they almost gave two of three of those games away. Sam just doesn't. I don't know. His game management just turns to crap when they have a lead, and I don't understand it. That's again, it's not always been the case, but here lately it has been, more than not. And I heard a number. It was something like Arkansas's lost 10 out of 12 games decided by 7 points or less. In the last whatever it is, 2.5 years, maybe longer. There's something going on here, and there is one common denominator. You've had all these changes. You got a whole bunch of new guys on the 53 new players on the roster or whatever it is, new staff on the offense. But the common denominator is your head coach is still your head coach. Why are you not winning these games? This game should never have been in a situation where what happened in the bottom of the fourth quarter happened. Arkansas had complete control of this game until they didn't. And again, Oklahoma State, major credit to them. Winning it at their place is not easy to do. Not many teams have done it. Gundy is a really good coach. I've got a lot of respect for him. He finds ways to win games. They've lost some head scratchers, but you got to give them credit. But again, for me, and you could say I'm biased, whatever, but I watched that game. It felt to me, if that were anybody else, I don't care if that were the 49ers. Anyone who knows me, I hate the 49ers. I would say, based on what I saw, well, that was more about the Niners losing it than it was the opponent winning it. Although I also know you could say, well, the winner is the winner. I get that argument, but I don't know, man. Go back and watch that second half and then watch the first half, and you tell me, for anyone in chat or who's watching this later, your thoughts. Because I don't know. It was you talk about a tale of two halves. I just but it's nothing new for Arkansas. It's nothing new, at least not lately.
Well, I totally get what you're talking about. Assessing a game and saying, okay, did these two teams play extremely well? Both teams were just razor sharp. We could think of some of the greatest classic games of all time, especially in the NFL, where even the loser, you just got to throw up your hands and say, well, they were great. Just the other team made one more play. Those games are rare in football. Most games are lost. And yes, I think that this game is more about, now, of course, if you're an Oklahoma State fan, then it's all about your team, of course. Yeah. But taking it from a neutral position of just watching a good football game, and I definitely wanted to watch this game, and I watched it start to, ironically, I watched every play until overtime, and then I didn't see the overtime. But anyway, yes, this to me was Arkansas blowing the game, and Oklahoma State certainly made the plays that were presented to them to make. And they went out and made plays as well. They took the game as well to a certain extent, but there were also plays kind of gifted to them. Of course, a muffed punt, fumbles that were not caused by hits necessarily. Yeah.
Well, even Green's pick, and again, I need to go back and watch it.
It was underthrown.
Did he get – so the pocket collapsed, and he probably should have just taken the sack. That was my initial – thought
that could be true as well.
I need to go back and
But
rewatch it.
the receiver was running a short crossing route, and he
Yeah,
was wide open, and Green just threw it way behind him.
and he missed a will route too. He missed a will route later in the game that was like a give me, and that's what we were told about Green, that's probably going to happen based on what all went on at Boise State. That he could have games like what he did against UNLV, but then he's still going to have those moments where he's going to miss open receivers. He's going to underthrow. He's going to throw into an interception. I don't remember reading much about the case of the fumbles, but some of that, I think, bad snaps. Oh my goodness. It was like everything that could go wrong all kind of happened, at the same time in this game. And but it's not to say that the players don't bear some responsibility. And I definitely stirred the pot on Saturday when I said, coaches need to take the blame here too. And I still stand by that. But the players need to execute on the field. There's absolutely truth in that, of course. But the coaches, they certainly, you got to have your guys prepared. And coming out in the second half the way they did, oh my, did they make any adjustments? Like, what did they just say? Let's go out and sell. I certainly don't think so. We're fine, guys. We've got this. I don't think that was being said, but it just felt like, same thing that we've seen over and over again watching Arkansas, just not finding a way to hang on to leads. And you definitely, I mean, the way this thing started, you wondered, are they going to blow Oklahoma State out? Is this going to be a blowout? And then, of course, the pick six happens, but they do respond. And that's the one thing I will give them credit. I mean, this thing did get to overtime. Arkansas did respond. And that's at least a good thing. That's a good sign. They didn't just, well, it's over. Oklahoma State took the lead. It's over. They didn't bow down. They didn't back out. They weren't afraid of Oklahoma State at all. I mean, they just when they needed the plays, after all the mistakes they made, it did kind of feel like too little too late to some extent, at least in overtime. However, both teams, you missed field goals in overtime, but then Oklahoma State was able to get the points in double overtime to win the game. Arkansas couldn't respond. So you feel pretty good if they just take away a couple of mistakes. But that's the game of football, right? I mean, a lot of teams could say that. The winner is still the winner no matter what.
I did a post-game recap on it and basically said to open, there are teams that figure out ways to win games, and there are teams that figure out ways to lose games. And this shouldn't be a surprise because this was Arkansas last year.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back to 2022 to see how it played out the year before when they went 7-6. But last year, if you ask the average college football fan, that they just think Arkansas was awful last year. But no, they were legitimately in games against really good teams and found ways to lose games. Oklahoma State, they had a horrible defense last year and they found ways to win games. And so they continue to do that. So I never thought Arkansas was going to run away from this because I thought, no, Oklahoma State's at home. They're a battle-tested team. But Arkansas physically looked like the much better team, especially, of course, in the first half into the third quarter. But even when they were losing control of the game, it's not like Oklahoma State started battering them up front with Ollie Gordon. He didn't do anything the whole game. His touchdown run in overtime, that was his longest run of the day. You're talking about the guy that is arguably the best running back in the nation, and Arkansas checked him for 49 yards.
Yeah.
37 in regulation.
Yeah. One double-digit run the whole game. 1 12-yard run that resulted in the touchdown. 2.9 yards per carry. And I don't want to continue. Like, I know I'm definitely known as the Big 12 hater here, but I'm not. It's that I just, again, want the conference to be better. And Ollie Gordon is supposed to be he's the cover guy, right? Like, if you're talking about the best of the best running backs, he's the guy that you're going to slap on the cover out of the Big 12. And don't get me wrong, I think Arkansas's front four, their starting front four, they're pretty good. I mean, they're going to be probably top 5, top 6 in the SEC. with the possibility of who knows where Landon Jackson goes, who, by the way, graded out really good on PFF against the run, not so much against the pass, but nobody does against Oklahoma State because that offensive line, pass protection wise, is fantastic. I mean, that's definitely something they've got going for them. But I mean, Ollie Gordon was not a factor in this game, which goes back to what I said. He's not a Heisman. He's not. I wouldn't put him as a first team All-American. Maybe third if you're one of these magazines that goes all the way to 4, which at this point it's like participation trophy. But I'd probably put him somewhere between third and fourth team All-American. He's a top 6 back in the country. Top 8. I'm kind of sliding him down a little bit, but he's not shown much this year through 2 games. Now they're about to get into the Big 12 schedule and things will change for them. But Arkansas did what was necessary to win this game. They just, it's just typical what Arkansas fans have seen for the last 2 years. And this is why, Mark, Sam is on the hot seat because of games and moments like what we saw on Saturday. I'm not saying that he should be fired right now. I'm not saying that, but this is why he's on the hot seat. So, and now you've got, this was supposed to be your cushion game. I say cushion. It's supposed to be the game you go back and you go, well, they won that one. When you face that, you've got Auburn, A&M, and Tennessee coming up. Boy, things are going to get really testy if now you go 0 for 3 in those games. Because especially, you would already, but now even more so because you lost this one the way that you did. So, I don't know. Buckle up, Hog fans. This is going to get really interesting.
Yeah, there were, as you mentioned, coaching blunders in that game. I wouldn't be able to go through them right now. I recognized them at the time, but they should have had more time on the field goal drive that tied the game at the end. They blew a lot of time there. And, elsewhere in the game. So
there's one thing I will say, and I don't know, and I need to get follow-up on the rule, and maybe you would know this, but after Bowman, Oklahoma State's quarterback, got hit with the taunting penalty.
Yes.
Arkansas used a timeout, and I'm not sure why. And I need to go back and watch that, how that played out. But the refs were certainly like that freezes time there.
Yeah.
Typically you don't see, even if the clock continues to move or not, you have time now to kind of recoup with your team while the refs are over there doing their thing, figuring out what the penalty is, and then calling the penalty. Why did they use a timeout?
It almost serves as like a basketball 30-second timeout or even longer.
It does.
Yeah.
So then why did they use a timeout, right? That's what I don't understand. Why did they need the timeout there?
So you would consider that to be one blunder. Not necessarily a blunder. You would just like an explanation of why they needed a timeout when they had extra time.
Yeah.
I just know that there was a sequence when they were coming down where they eventually got the field goal.
Yeah.
It would have been difficult to get the ball all the way into the end zone with the amount of time. But there was one sequence in there where they ended up spiking the ball, but they took like 12 or 14 seconds to spike the ball.
Man goes in motion. He sent someone in motion on that. I'm pretty sure he sent someone in motion. And I'm like, wait, what? Just spike the ball. Again, I'll go back and rewatch. Maybe I saw that wrong. There's just things like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's a reflection of the head coach, Mark. And if he gets fired, we're going to go back to moments like Saturday. We're going to go back to that. We're going to go, there's your sign. There it is. And if that happened once, okay. Had Oklahoma State just come out and just beat you, right? And the stat sheet wasn't so, lopsided like it is. That's one thing. It's still not good, but sometimes it really is how you lose games. And that's what Arkansas fans have seen time and time again. Now, Mizzou last year, they just went up and down the field on you. They just beat the crap out of you. You were worn down. You were injured, banged up. Mizzou was on fire. They were playing great football. That's understandable. That's going to happen. They were really that good last year. But you have moments like this. Mississippi State losing 7-0. I mean, I don't know.
I see a lot of comments in the chat of basically, oh, this is all sour grapes, eat crow. And I understand that there's a winner, there's a loser. There weren't any necessarily bad calls. Like you could say, okay, we would have won the game, but the ref made a horrible call at the end of the game. It's nothing like that. Oklahoma State won the game. We're not taking a win away from Oklahoma State or giving Arkansas a win.
Yeah.
But yes, this wasn't the Missouri game last year. This was when one team racks up 672 yards of total offense or 647, something like that. The other team's at 385. That tells you there's a line of scrimmage difference. That tells you that one team either just had Tom Brady at quarterback or they had a line of scrimmage difference or both. And yeah, I would say that Taylon Green was the better quarterback than Alan Bowman. Alan Bowman, he showed me what he is all the time. I don't know why they trust him. This was a bad sequence. Arkansas pins Oklahoma State down to the 1 yard line, and they just let Alan Bowman just come out firing. And I'm like, he's supposed to have one of the best backs in the nation, and he's like fluttering up like ducks all over the place. Anyway, he's not a good quarterback.
No.
But I don't want to disparage the guy as a person. I don't know anything about him otherwise, but as a quarterback in major college football, he's on the bottom half.
Yeah.
So Taylon Green played much better, but he made his mistakes. But he played much better. Just he's a better runner, thrower of the football, everything involved. But the line of scrimmage, Arkansas won the line of scrimmage. They had the better offensive line. They had the better defensive line. Or you don't rack up almost 300 more yards of total offense.
Yeah. It's crazy. Oklahoma State, 5 of 16 on third down. Arkansas, 11 of 19. They were 0 for 2 on fourth. Oklahoma State was 50% there. That's like I think that's the one category that's not points that they actually were better than Arkansas at, but 232 rushing yards for Arkansas, 59 for Oklahoma State. No, Oklahoma State got dominated. So on the stat sheet, they got dominated. They just took advantage, and that's what winning teams do.
Yeah,
take advantage.
You recover muff punts, you recover fumbles. But I guarantee you. So Wet Blankets down here, he's an Oklahoma State fan, so he's biased, of course. And they won the game. That's all that matters. I get it, but it doesn't really project well for your team if you're getting outrushed 230-50. Like, you lose that game 95% of the time. So if that continues forward, Oklahoma State's going to lose to good teams. And Arkansas, if they can clean up mistakes, they might be a better factor and a better team in the SEC than we anticipated. This is what drives me crazy here. Like, we're not trying to take away your win. You're fine. Oklahoma State won the game. Give them all the credit in the world for taking advantage of Arkansas's blunders, but Oklahoma State also made plays. Absolutely, they did. In the past game, Bowman threw for 326, so he did make some good throws. But if we took this route in terms of evaluating these games and just said, oh, so-and-so won, we don't have anything else to talk about. Well, we wouldn't have these shows. You understand, we have these shows to discuss the games. You wouldn't even watch the games. You would just check the score online, and then that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
So
and there's the final score, which I agree. And that's
all that matters.
That is all that matters. Oklahoma State won. If this were me, and let's again flip the score over and Arkansas won in the same fashion, I would say the same thing. Arkansas, won the game, but it was more about Oklahoma State losing the game. Anyone who's followed me long enough knows I will call that out. I will certainly call that out and not be afraid to.
That's all that matters. But you evaluate your team and you evaluate the two teams.
Right.
Arkansas just beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 70-0. Now, I guarantee you that Arkansas fans would feel differently, and rightfully so, and you would as well, and you'd have a different evaluation of your team if Arkansas went out against an FCS team and won that game 42-40, would we all just be sitting here saying a win's a win? It doesn't matter. No, we'd be saying what in the hell's wrong with this team? They beat an FCS team by that much.
Yeah.
Wow, they're hurting. They're in trouble. No, it matters the evaluation of the performance.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think anything that we said here is that controversial. I don't know if you could take a bias cap off, and I know I'm going to be accused of being biased. I don't really care, but again, like I've said it before, if the shoe were on the other foot and Arkansas won the way that Oklahoma State won, like I said, I would say no, you're right. Arkansas, they lost because they lost, but ultimately we won because we made the plays when it mattered in the second half. On the stat sheet, Arkansas dominated us. I think they were probably the better team. All you got to do is scratch a couple of mistakes, but again, that is the game of football. And that's why we watch it.
You can't make mistakes.
Yeah. There's a lot that Arkansas should probably, again, if they clean some of this stuff up, Mark, this could be a pretty surprising year. But I mean, again, my reservations, and I'm at that point. It is that Sam Pittman is the head coach, that for the last 2+ years, we've kind of seen this movie before. Now we're not even in a trilogy anymore. We're going into the fourth movie. Please stop making these movies, Mark. They're awful. It's woke garbage. No, I'm just kidding. It's not woke, but that is the common dislike of modern movies.
From what I hear, I would be in that category as well, but I don't know. I can't say that from firsthand knowledge because I don't watch.
Stay away from Star Wars. Stay away from Marvel. But no, I do think that if they clean stuff up, the narrative will change. It will change, and like you said, they did. They blew out UAPB. Okay, they're air. It might as well have just been air. But we've also seen some teams we thought really highly of, or at least better than, and they barely beat some pretty bad teams week 1 and week 2. So I guarantee you those teams are having conversations right now. Their content creators like you and I are saying things like, oh boy, what's going on? You look at South Carolina week 1 and look at them. They're 2-0 now. Look at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's 2-0, but they've got a test coming up this week. So their content creators are doing their thing. That's what they get paid to do. That's what we get paid to do, to break these games down and talk about them. And the assessment that you and I, sounds like we're on the same page. The assessment we're coming away with is Oklahoma State just made the right plays at the right time. They took advantage of Arkansas's mistakes, and that's how you win these games. And that's all that matters. But Arkansas certainly lost this game, in my opinion, more so than Oklahoma State won it. You don't even have to look that far. You don't even have to. I mean, you should watch the game. You should always watch the game, but you look at the stat sheet. But again, that's when numbers become irrelevant unless they're telling the final story. So again, grats to Oklahoma State. I'm going to be real with you. I don't know what it would look like if Arkansas was in the Big 12 and they had the schedule that Oklahoma State had, but I certainly think it would be better than what they are with their with the SEC schedule they have coming up. But good luck to Oklahoma State the rest of the year. They might be a playoff team. I don't know. Based on what I saw on Saturday, I would say, oh boy, I probably wouldn't put them in the playoffs. But it is Coach Gundy, a guy I have a lot of respect for. I like him a lot. He finds ways to do more with less. I don't know if there's anybody in the country that, that does what he does in the capacity that he does it, and whatever I have to say about the Big 12 is what it is. He's still finding ways to win games. And that's a sign of a good coach and a good staff.
All right, Ty, before we let you go, what is the schedule this week? I failed to look at Arkansas' schedule.
Well, they got UAB coming up.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So
they just got blasted by somebody.
Yeah, they lost. That's the other thing I got to do. I've got to find a way to get access to that game. But yeah, after UAB, the pressure cooker is turned on, man. It's at Auburn. Yeah, A&M. Yeah, like you're not back in Fayetteville until October 5th, which is just, well, again, after UAB. So but you don't get a quality opponent in Fayetteville until October 5th. And then after that, you get a bye week, and then it's LSU at Mississippi State, and then, you know, Ole Miss, Texas, Louisiana Tech, and Mizzou. But it's after UAB, it's on like Donkey Kong, like, you know, and I don't mean to overlook UAB, but again, I think
they lost to Louisiana 32-6.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I just need to find access to the game, but it's gonna be family weekend, by the way, for Hog fans. If you're if you're going on September 14th.
Well, Ty, we appreciate you being here. We want to let everyone know that you can check out Ty's work there at Tusk Talk with Ty, and I put up the banner as soon as I can find it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I got way too many banners. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you being here, Ty, as always. There it is. Tusk Talk with Ty. It's right here on YouTube, of course.
Hey.
And Ty, thanks for stopping by. I wanted to get your perspective on this game because, again, I invested my afternoon in watching Arkansas football, and it was entertaining, if nothing else.
At least there's that, right? At least it was entertaining. It may not have gone the way Hog fans wanted, but we'll see how this year unfolds. And again, I'm not saying fire Sam right now. There are signs of life with this team on both sides of the ball. We'll just see if they can tighten up those mistakes. I think it's where we're at with that. Let's tighten those down a little bit. Let's see less of those.
Yes.
So,
both by the players and by the coaches.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Ty. Appreciate you
around.
Being here,
absolutely.
We will keep it a rolling here at the Voice of College Football. This is what we do every Monday through Friday. We started after conference media days, and we have vowed to be here throughout the season, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you can just make that part of your day each and every day. Boom, there you go. And we are here for 1 hour, unless you would like us to be here for longer. So based on your contributions and your interest, we will be here past the 1 hour mark again, if you would like that. And before we take a call here, I want to let you know what I'm possibly working on. I do believe, and I will be transparent about this, that it's a little bit too early to be comparing conferences, because once I added up the numbers, there's really nothing to differentiate these conferences at this point. We may believe that the SEC is the best, and I do, and believe that the Big Ten is by far the second best, and then the other two suck, which I generally agree. But the results don't tell us that at this point. So I added up the ACC record, the Power 4 results, the Big 12, the same deal, the Big 10 and the SEC. So we may post a video on that and put in perspective the games between the conferences and what that looks like. So, for example, the ACC is 23-5 non-conference. They're 5-5 against the Power 4. The one stat I did discover, and we will make this a little trivia question in the chat, the power conferences are 78-1. Usually this number is more in the low 90 percentile range. 78-1 against the FCS and the group of 5. 78-1. So the next time I get a call, and there is a particular caller, some of you may know who I'm talking about, who will call and vouch for the group of 5 being just about as good as the I hear this from time to time. There's not that much difference. 78-1 against a group of 5 and FCS. Now take probably a third of those are FCS games. So maybe it's 50-1 against the group of 5. Yeah, there's a difference. So does the chat know what group of 5 team defeated a power conference team? And that's barely distinguishable based on where these teams were located just 2 seasons ago. All right. That's a hint. That's a big hint. I was also looking at a breakdown, and I compiled a lot of numbers between Brian Kelly's tenure and Marcus Freeman, because I know Marcus Freeman is beloved by most Notre Dame fans and Brian Kelly is disdained. Started looking at numbers, though, in terms of bad losses and good wins and losses against good teams. And then I also looked at, of course, the week 3 non-conference matchups. These are the interesting ones for me, again, in evaluating the conferences. We got Bama at Wisconsin, Boston College at Mizzou, Oregon State, Washington State, Notre Dame, Purdue, West Virginia, Pitt, Ole Miss, Wake, Maryland, Virginia. So we'll see if Wisconsin can hang with Bama this week at Camp Randall Stadium. It doesn't appear to be that. The way Wisconsin's played the first 2 games of the season, the way the Bama stepped it up in the fourth quarter and obviously annihilated Western Kentucky, I think it could be a long day for the Badgers. All right, our top 25 that actually makes sense. Maybe this week we will do a response video or probably a live stream with all of you if I can find time. I've got 16 show obligations during the week, so it's difficult to add to that. Our schedule today, we got the Alabama show at 6 and the Texas show at 7. Go to the respective channels. The Alabama show on the Alabama channel, of course, at 6 p.m. Eastern time with our buddy Jackson Johnson. And then Matthew Miller's got the Texas show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's take a call here. We got Dominic on the line. Dominic, what's going on? Thanks for your patience.
2-0. Wake Forest blew it. 30-17, and they just allowed us to come back. 2-0. Doubters, what you guys say now?
Doubters meaning doubters of Virginia football.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would think, what do they have to say now? They would basically say, play a team with a pulse, and we will get back to you. But that's a big win for Virginia. Yeah, I did not see the game, but I noticed that they were down, did not think that they were going to win. Anthony Calandria, who I was rooting for, not that I've got a thing against Tony Muskett at all, but I just think Calandria, based on what I saw last year, probably saw him play 5 or 6 times, is a really good young starting quarterback. Had a big day against Wake Forest. I looked at the box score and read the recap. And so congratulations to Virginia. But there will be tougher games in the future.
Yeah, and like you said, Calandria, 33 for 43, 357 yards, 3 tutties, 2 picks. He was just balling all night in that second half.
Sounds like it. Yeah, he's a fun player. Had a nice freshman season last year. Under fire, under siege. They threw him into the burner, and he made some mistakes, as any freshman would, but I was impressed with him. Virginia should have won at Louisville last year. They played a great game there. They blew it late. They, of course, had that big upset against North Carolina. That was exciting. They also had a big upset against somebody else that's not coming to mind. But other than like 2 blowouts last year, they played well against everybody in the ACC. I picked Virginia to go 6-6
we
this
got
year.
a tough opponent. Yeah, and we got a tough opponent next week. We got Maryland at home. That's going to be a tough challenge for us. But if anyone can get it done, it's Anthony. It's our buddy at QB, Anthony Calandria. If anyone can get it done, he's that guy, man.
Well, I would maybe choose another 25 or 30 guys in front of him, but I get your point.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the time, Mark. I'll see
Thanks,
you
Dominic.
on Tuesday.
Appreciate you stopping by. Good luck to the Cavaliers. It's our buddy Dominic. He's a Virginia fan. I love that. I love to hear from fans of teams that we don't talk about on a regular basis. And why don't we talk about Virginia football? Well, they've sucked forever. And number 2, nobody wants to hear about it. But I do. I would talk Virginia. Jackie Franchuli's out there from 247 Sports, and she does a remarkable job. And she checks in with us when we call on her to talk some Virginia football. I would love to talk about these other teams besides the same teams we talk about all the time. However, none of you want to hear about them. So we do appreciate you being here, the voice of college football, and the Amazon links in the description section of all the videos. Please use the Amazon link when you do your shopping because it's basically the same shopping experience for you. It doesn't change anything. Amazon still recognizes your account. Let's see here. It works something like this. Let's do while nobody's calling or asking any questions or making any comments. Let's see, it works something like this. I'm going to call up my YouTube channel. So basically what you do here is you're on YouTube. So for me, well, I would go into my settings here. Let's see. Let's do this. But for you would go to a video. Like, let me do this. Let's do it this way. This is exciting, isn't it? Let's do it this way. So I'm on YouTube. And let's say we'll go Mark Rogers TV. Boom. There we are. Go here. And then let's say we're going to watch ourselves. How about that? No, let's go to our last video. The big Iowa stage, the deal here.
When we start talking recruit.
What the hell's going on? There we go. And okay, so you go into the description section of the video and you go to the Amazon link. And the Amazon link, this is ordered incorrectly. I thought we had the Amazon link at the top of the page. We need the Amazon link at the top of the page. This is all out of order. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get this thing straightened out. I'm going to do this immediately. It's buried. That's not good. Okay, well, the Amazon link's down here. Boom. So you go on the Amazon link. Do you see it right there? This is riveting, I know. But the Amazon link. But if we don't pay the bills, we won't be here for very long. So go to the Amazon link and forget this hover helmet business. Amazon requires that you select an item, and I would like to switch out the item. Maybe when there are seasonal changes, switch out the item, but I don't know how to do that. I haven't been able to figure out that. So that's what the item has been since day one, but that doesn't matter. That makes no difference. Once you click on that Amazon link, see what it did? I didn't go to my Amazon link. I went to the Amazon link and look up here at the top. Hello, Mark. See, it immediately and automatically goes right to your, oh, you can't see any of that. My bad. It doesn't switch with your screen. There we go. There it is. So if you click on the Amazon link in the description section, it automatically recognizes you, even though you clicked on our link. Boom, right at the top there. See, it says, hello, Mark. Probably can't see it, but it says, hello, Mark. It recognizes me. It's going to recognize you. It automatically goes from our Amazon link to your Amazon account. So it's completely transparent, And so please use the Amazon link. And I know I described that rather horrifically. All right, folks. We do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Our shows are 6 and 7 tonight. We've got the Alabama show at 6. We've got the Texas show at 7. I'm here every day for at least an hour. Would love to be here for 4 or 5 hours, but that is up to you. So if you enjoy the show, please let us know, and we will expand the show past an hour Monday through Friday, because we certainly have plenty to talk about, and we will do so. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Oh, I guess we'll stick around for Michael. Michael, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, there you go. I had to mute you. Sorry about that, man. I mean, like, I wish I had $1,000 for you right now.
Well, that's okay.
To extend it for you eat and stuff like that. But I know.
Hang on, Michael. Hang on just a second. Michael, you are always welcome here. We love you. You're amazing. You've been a supporter and contributor. Here's the bottom line. Let me explain the money thing. I would not want $1 from anyone. If we can get enough views on videos and if we can get sponsors, I've always said from day one, I don't want super chats, wouldn't want to depend on them, but we're not in that position. So obviously, we all have to get paid for our work. That's why I make the determination here. We're going to do a 1-hour show. And for us to continue, obviously, we need to get paid to keep the lights on. And if we don't, then I can go do other things and make videos and get paid that way. So I just want to clarify that I never want to put any kind of pressure on anyone, and that you are an amazing contributor here at the Voice of College Football, and you always have been.
I appreciate it. But no, anyway, I was going to say, though, so no. Yeah, I know. I think Alabama gets it done Saturday up at Camp Randall and stuff like that. But no, Purdue, I'm excited about the Purdue game. Are those pretty much, I'm trying to think, the IU UCLA game Saturday, so that's the conference game, which should be interesting and stuff like that. But how do you go about, is it based off matchups, or as far as like your schedule, as far as what games you watch each week? Or you like you throw a dart and see what sticks?
Well, if I threw a dart, maybe I would come up with the Purdue game a little bit more often. But no, what I do is I have determined that I can only pay attention to 2 games at once. I can't pay attention to like if I had, like my buddy sent me a picture the other day of his basement, and he and his wife, they've just completely made this just a ultimate man cave of football paraphernalia and TV screens all over the place. Well, that wouldn't do me much good because I could have 18 TV screens and I can't watch 18 games. I've determined I can only really concentrate on 2 games. So I do put a third game on a third screen if I've got it available. But here's another deal. Based on this laptop, it's about dead, and that's why we have no monitor anymore. But so I pick out 2 games at noon, pick out 2 games at 3:30, pick out 2 games for prime time, and I focus on those 2 games.
I was just wondering stuff like that. So pretty much it's on live support right now. Your laptop's on live support, even though you got a different laptop.
No. This is a 14-year-old laptop right here.
I know, and I thought you got it. I thought you got a new one this year.
No, we're gonna do a GoFundMe.
That's what I'm thinking, man.
To get a laptop.
Oh my goodness, man. But no, I was just wondering stuff like that now and stuff like that. But has there ever been times where like you picked the games and stuff like that, and then you realize I made a mistake with these games as there was better
absolutely.
games?
Well, I don't know that I made a mistake. I select the 2 most important games, but that doesn't mean that those are going to be the best games. I could, let's see, I'll use your team for an example. I could pick Notre Dame and Purdue at 3:30, which I'm sure I will, because I think 3:30 off the top of my head, unless I'm forgetting a game or 2, I'm going to go Purdue, Notre Dame, and Oregon State at 3:30. But if Purdue's winning 35-0 at halftime, then
you're going to switch,
which is likely. Then I'm not going to watch the second half. Then I'll see that let's say LSU and South Carolina is 17-14 in the fourth quarter. I'd rather watch that. So I'll switch and based on the game performance.
Yeah, I was just wondering. Another thing I'm trying to figure out too is what time is kickoff for the Apple Cup Saturday?
Well, we can look at that right now. Although ESPN is really, I don't know if this is happening for everyone else. I talked to one person where every time I go to the scoreboard, it blocks it with some AT&T ad. But the Apple Cup, I believe, is at 3:30 on Fox.
Okay. Just wondering.
I'm looking at it right now. Let me find it. So Alabama, Wisconsin, of course, will be one of my noon selections. Alabama's a 16-point favorite. Okay. Washington State. They're playing at 3:30 on Peacock.
Okay. Wow.
No, I'll not be watching that. I'm not going to mess around with Peacock. I did last year. I got the free trial last year.
Anyway, so I was just wondering, who's more likely to cover, Purdue or Wisconsin?
Let's see. Purdue's at
10 and a
Oh,
half or
12 and
11
a
and a half.
half. What did I guess that at?
I seen it yesterday. It was 10 and a half.
Oh, it says 12 and a half on ESPN here.
Mm-hmm.
So Purdue or Wisconsin? That's a great question. I am going to say Purdue.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking stuff too. So not bad. But no, it's just like too bad. Days, you guys can't go live like you do with Steve Days, man, because that's unfair to you, though, man.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You know how Steve Days, you're on with Steve Days every week?
Yes.
It's unfair for you not to be able to counter his points, though, man.
How can't I counter his
No,
point?
because didn't you say he does his segment
Oh,
before
sure. I don't get to see his segment. Yeah.
That's
He
what I'm saying.
records his segment.
Yeah, and that's unfair because you can't counteract that. You can't do point counterpoint.
No, I just respond to whatever he asks me when he brings me on, which I am very indebted to Steve, and he's a great friend, and I appreciate him having me on almost every week. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I would love to hear his recorded segment before I come on,
Yeah,
because
it would be nice or something like that.
sometimes I actually repeat what he says because I have no idea what he said.
Mm-hmm. This is and stuff like that. Not bad. All right. So if I'm not mistaken, don't you got a show coming up at the top of the with those three guys from Ohio State coming up at the top of the hour?
That's on Wednesday.
Okay. I thought it was on Mondays or something.
No, that's on Wednesday.
All right. So nothing till later this afternoon then?
We've got the Alabama show at 6 with Jackson Johnson and the Texas show at 7 with Matthew Miller.
All right. Should be interesting shows and stuff like that to know. Because I thought you had a midday show on Mondays or something. Or was that last year? You did.
Possibly it was last year. We've changed it so many times. I have no idea at this point.
All right. Oh, so you think the total will get higher than 45 on Saturday?
45. Let's see. The way I picked games this past weekend, you don't want to ask my advice. I had my worst week ever selecting games. I went 7 and 16 against the spread.
That is not good.
No, it's horrible. 45 points. 45 points. Wow. Notre Dame's not been able to score on anyone. They scored 14 last week and 23 against Texas A&M. I'm gonna go under. Notre Dame can't score, and their defense is really good. I'm going under.
So you're thinking maybe like a 20-17 or?
Yeah, 24-17 popped into my mind, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and can you imagine what it would be like for Marcus? I can't remember his last name. Notre Dame's coach.
Freeman. Yeah.
What's life going to be like for Notre Dame going back to South Bend if they do lose Saturday night?
So it sounds like you've got some hope, which I think you should. There have already been a lot of double-digit underdogs win games.
And you now also add another win to Purdue having the most ranked wins as an unranked team against ranked teams.
Yes.
Not bad.
Purdue has an excellent history of pulling off upsets.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And that would also help me. As I said, I still see them just 2-1 in the non-conference. For them to finish 6-6, they got to be 2-1. Actually, I had this as a loss, but after Saturday, I'm saying, hey, why not get it be a win for them?
Why not?
And it's true. All right, sir. Have a good one. I will catch you later.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, bye.
It's our buddy Michael breaking down Purdue football. So this is awesome. We've had 2 calls, and one was about Virginia and one was about Purdue. That's refreshing for me. Didn't have to talk about Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. But again, we are probably going to compare the conferences. Maybe we'll do some power rankings in the conferences as well, because we're at a point in the season in which we've got 2 games played. And so, for example, in the Big Ten, everyone would have had Oregon above USC in power rankings, of course, to start the season. But what's happened? Well, USC's played a lot better than Oregon, so they should be power ranked ahead of Oregon. Shoot, the Big Ten power rankings right now, USC won. Ohio State 2, just because they've been so dominant, but they don't have the second best win. That would be Penn State beating West Virginia. So I guess I'd put Penn State 3 and maybe Indiana 4. That sounds like the Big Ten power ranking to me at this point. USC 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 3, and Indiana 4. Yeah. Northwestern blew a game against Duke. They should have won that game. And yes, as it stands right now, the ACC is 23-5, 5-5 against the power conferences. The Big 12 is 23-7 and 5-6 against the other power conferences. For the Big 10, it's 27-4, 4-4 against the power conferences. The Big 10 is oh so close to having a really good record against the other conferences, but Iowa, of course, blew that game against Iowa State, in which they were controlling the game. Minnesota missed a last play of the game field goal against North Carolina to blow that game. And Northwestern just handed the game to Duke. And otherwise, wow, the Big Ten is that close to being 7-1. But the results are the results, 4-4. And then you got the SEC at 24-6, 5-6 against the Power Four. A lot of big results for the SEC that would substantiate their status as the best conference, but some other results don't look so good. The Texas win, impressive. The Tennessee win against NC State, impressive. Georgia over Clemson, impressive. Vandy winning as a 2-touchdown underdog over Virginia Tech, impressive. Oklahoma limping by Houston, not impressive. And then you've got a bunch of blown games. Arkansas blew that game, as we talked about ad nauseum earlier in the show. Florida got drubbed. LSU lost on the last play of the game. Texas A&M blew it in the fourth quarter. Mississippi State, Arizona State. I watched the extended highlights on that game. I love to do that, is go back to as many games as possible late Saturday night, Sunday morning, and watch the extended highlights, like the 12 to 15-minute cut-down version. And I watched Arizona State and Mississippi State. Arizona State looked like the SEC team. They dominated on the ground. Their running back, Scatabo, had 265 yards rushing against Mississippi State's front. Arizona State led 30-3. Mississippi State came roaring back, but they couldn't stop Scatabo, and Arizona State ran out the last 4 minutes of the game. So that's a loss for the SEC. So as of right now, if we are just basing it on results, not what we think, there's like a 4-way tie for first place among the conferences. It is indistinguishable at this point. Now, again, Saturday, we've got Bama, Wisconsin, BC, Mizzou, Oregon State, Washington State, Notre Dame, Purdue, West Virginia, Pitt, Ole Miss, Wake, Maryland, Virginia. Now, who do we think are going to win these games? Let's take the SEC games. Bama should beat Wisconsin. And then Ole Miss is going to drub Wake Forest. So it should be a 2-0 week for the SEC. So they should run their record to 7-6. They should. The Big Ten's got the Wisconsin game against Bama, Oregon State, Washington State. That's a toss-up. Purdue, Notre Dame is most likely a loss. And Maryland, Virginia. Wow. It's a toss-up week for the Big Ten. Wisconsin's a clear underdog. Purdue's a clear underdog. Oregon State. Oregon's the favorite, but the way they've been playing, Washington State's a toss-up, and Maryland, Virginia is pretty much of a toss-up. The Big Ten's playing 5 games this weekend, and it may not look too pretty. So the Big Ten's at 4-4. So then the ACC is playing Virginia, Maryland, Wake, Ole Miss, Pitt, West Virginia, BC and Mizzou, it's not looking like a good weekend for the ACC. I would think that the ACC is going to lose all 4 of those non-conference games. Maybe they'll win 1, maybe. And then that leaves for the Big 12. Nobody's playing for the Big 12 except West Virginia. They should win, and the Big 12 would even their record at 6-6. So it's not necessarily going to get decided even this weekend. Probably we'll have to wait till the end of September to truly get a lean on best conference. And then, of course, at the end of the year, you got SEC, the 4 SEC, ACC games, and you got Notre Dame, USC. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. The Voice of College Football. Bama at 6, Texas at 7. Check out those live streams, and we'll be back here Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with all of you. College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.